Yep.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnocky and I'm here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Jess.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Jess. Hi, Matt.
Oh.
Did you have to think? I had to think.
No.
About who you are in the equation.
Yeah, I was like, hi. No.
Who are the other two?
You're the Jess character. I mean, person.
Human person.
Human
definitely,
person.
Who definitely exists.
Not a robot.
Yeah, they're all characters. They are all two-dimensional flat characters. Poke a hole in them. Try. Yep, you just did. Okay.
That was quick.
Wow.
Well done.
Yeah, good job.
We're recording on a Saturday afternoon. The weather is nice. The beers are out for Matt and I. Jess, on the waters.
I'm hitting the hard stuff.
Nice. You
For
are
Jess,
going...
it's October for today.
Just today.
Just today. She's
One
doing
day.
October the 3rd, or whatever today is.
It's not the third.
Damn it. I'd know that if I was drinking waters.
He's drunk again.
He is, as he always is. But it's great to be here, Matt. You feeling good?
I've lost 4 days. I just looked at it. It's the 7th. Anyway, it's not actually, because when people listen to this, it's in the future.
It's not the third.
It's still not the third.
It's even less the third.
Unless they listen to it in just under a year from now.
That'd be perfect.
Actually possible.
Oh, absolutely
Imagine
possible.
someone's doing that right now and their mind is exploding all over the train
Wow.
where they are. And they're on the train as well, so it exploded again.
And they're driving the train. And they don't even know how.
They've never driven a train before. They've just woken up from a weird dream.
Do you drive a train?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, train driver.
Oh yeah. Toot toot.
You don't drive a boat, do you? It's a worthy question.
No, you swim a boat.
Do you drive a plane?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely drive a plane.
You drive a plane out to the runway and then you take off.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then you drive it through the sky.
Skydriving.
Yeah. Sky
I'm
driving.
going to go for a
Skydrive.
skydrive. Oh, I like that.
Hey, Dave, I met this guy for the second time last night, so it's not really meeting him. But his name was Lucas, right? And he's a listener, and he was up in Albury where I was doing a gig. And he was saying that he wanted a way to easily explain what the show is, right?
There's no such thing.
And he said that he messaged you at some point, and he asked you, and you said, I don't know how to do it, right? But he had a good one, and I wish I'd written it down because I can't remember. But anyway, I just want you to know that somewhere out there, someone knows how to...
You're not even going to give it a crack.
What? It was something like 3 comedians. One of them does a report on a certain topic. The other 2 are smartasses. Something like that.
That's about right.
Yeah.
That's about right.
That is about right.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly right. Because I'm a smartass and I'm going to bring you down.
So that is what the show is, right? But we always start the show. We get into the topic by
One
the
of the
person giving the
smartasses.
report.
Yeah. The head smartass for the week.
They ask a question to get us on a topic. Dave, this week is your report. Please ask us a question.
You are the head smartass.
My first question is, can I delay the question to make an announcement?
Sure.
I'm sorry to be all admin on you guys, but we, just a couple of days ago, have announced that we are coming back to Sydney for a sweet live show at the end of November.
Ooh.
Remember, the 29th of November.
As the saying goes.
It's a double header.
That's right. Every Wednesday in August, every Wednesday in November, 2 Planet Broadcasting podcasts, we're part of the Planet Broadcasting Network, are doing a double-header podcast on Wednesday nights, and we are the last one in November, and we are doing a podcast after the comic book podcast Serious Issues.
So if you come to one night during November, make it ours or one of the others. Any Wednesday in November.
Remember, every Wednesday in November.
Yes. That's how you'll remember. But definitely come to ours on the 29th.
It's going to be a great time. We'll be doing, obviously, a live show, and then afterwards, Levins, who's also from the Serious Issues podcast, which if you haven't, and you're going to come along, definitely check it out because it's a lot of fun. Is going to be DJing afterwards, so it's going to be a bit of fun. We'll be...
I did not know that bit.
Did you not know?
That's
yeah.
real good.
Levins is being the resident DJ every Wednesday.
Holy shitballs.
He DJ'd at my favourite music festival in the world, Meredith Music Festival, which you guys have both been to. He DJ'd one a few years ago and created controversy when he played a Justin Bieber song. And people at Meredith, well, a few people, I think most people there were having fun, but afterwards on social media, people were like, Meredith is not a place for Justin Bieber.
Wow.
This is not on.
That-
You keep that shit out of here. This is a cool people place. Which
That
obviously
reaction is very unmerited.
it is
isn't
very
it?
unmerited. No dickhead rule. It's
No
written
dickhead
down
rule,
in the on the website. But anyway, he played his whole set. They apparently, I spoke to him just before, and he was saying that they asked him if he had any multimedia because they got screens behind that can play whatever he likes, and he goes he didn't have anything, so he just Google image searched pluck a duck and sent through like 10 images of pluck a duck. So his whole his 50-minute set or whatever just had pluck a duck photos.
That's awesome. Hope we get some Pluck a Duck on the 29th.
Yes.
I'm going to request some Pluck a Duck.
And some Justin Bieber.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be so fun. I did not know about the DJing part. That's going to be sick.
It's going to be a lot of fun now. The ticket link will be in the description of this episode, but it's also being sold through Eventbrite. So if you look it up, and you can see all the details. So Human Ordinary, Two in the Think Tank, The Weekly Planet are doing a couple. Josh Earls, Don't You Know Who I Am, will all be up there Wednesday nights in November, and we really hope to see you there.
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to ask that question.
All right, head smartass.
Okay, to get us on to this week's topic, which was voted for by the people that support us through Patreon. Mm-hmm. My question to get you on topic, because it's one of those things where you've either heard of it or you haven't. So I've just got a question that vaguely gets us there.
Right.
I'm feeling real cocky today, man.
I know
think-
about nearly everything.
I think you're going down.
Oh, okay. I forgot we weren't working as a team.
Never.
Like, yeah, let's do. Oh, I see.
When have we ever been a team? No, sometimes.
Back in the early days, we
Anyway,
grew apart.
We did. We'll get back together.
This is a fun thing because there's only 50 possible answers, so you can really have a crack.
Great.
In what US state
I was going to say it's a US state.
was
All
the
right.
first English colony
Ooh,
attempted to
New
be set up?
England.
It's not New England. That makes
that
sense.
would make sense. All right.
Anyway, it's on the
State.
east. It's on the east coast there.
East, so New York? No, that was the Dutch.
We've talked about it though.
Yeah,
on
we
this
talked
show
about it in the
before.
Santa. We talked about New York settled in the Santa Claus episode. I'm gonna say Pennsylvania.
It is not. JP, our geography queen.
Fuck!
Here we go.
No, I didn't want you to ask me because I don't know. You said East Coast and I was like, well, I'm out. I've got no fucking idea.
Indiana, where Gary is, my new home.
We got, I reckon, close to 50 people tweeting in
Yeah.
saying, "Do you know that Gary's a real place?" Thank you, but we do now. We did not know.
I've been walking on sunshine ever since.
We've got
Gary,
to go.
there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to Gary. They've got I've just looked it up today. They've got they used to have a basketball team called the Steelheads.
That's good.
What a place.
Oh.
Gary, Michael Jackson's from there. Gary, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
There's a song that Ron Howard sang in a musical. Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
Is
well,
that bit true?
Yes.
What the hell?
it's now on my bucket list to take a photo of you next to the sign that says "Welcome to Gary, Indiana."
I was reading the Wikipedia page, and at some point they go, you can head to downtown Gary. And I'm like, downtown Gary? That's a real place.
So good.
Downtown
That
Gary.
is so good. I'm just going
Okay.
to tell you where it is so we can get straight into this
Yes,
episode.
please.
It is in
North
Carolina.
Carolina is my
Carolina.
guess, Dave.
Where Michael Jordan played college basketball.
Well, that's one fact.
North Carolina. Okay.
Okay, have you ever heard of? And this is one
I've
of
heard
our
of North Carolina. Yes.
great. Have you heard of the topic which takes place there? This is one of our most suggested topics. I didn't realize,
Ooh.
but it is the Lost Colony of Roanoke.
Yeah, this has been suggested so many times.
Wow, yeah,
Dave, is this a mystery episode?
it's a mystery. It's a mystery. I put 3 mystery topics in the Patreon hat.
Yes.
If you're not familiar, if you support us through Patreon, you can vote every 3 weeks on the topic that I present on. And there were 3 mysteries, and this, being one of the most popular topics, obviously it won by a country mile. It was 60% of the vote or something. The other ones were cool, and we'll probably get to.
Oh man, I'm so in the mood for a mystery. Yes.
That's great.
It is
Mystery mood.
it's been suggested
mystery
by-
mood. How's she feel? We don't know. It's a mystery mood.
No, you just said you're in a really excited mood. It's not a mystery at all. I'm in a really good mood. It's a mystery mood.
Yeah, but now I feel sad.
Oh, sorry.
It's a roller coaster.
Well, it's been suggested by lots of people. So thank you. If this is you, and if we've missed you, I apologise, but this is so many. Jake Spector, John Titus, Kurt Macaulay, Jonah Christian,
these are great names.
Stephen Sankey,
Oh fuck yeah!
Paul S.
Ooh.
Mystery.
It's a mystery name. Mystery
Hillary Smith, Dan Brown, the Da Vinci
Bullshit, yeah.
Code.
Loves a mystery,
He's a
that guy.
mystery writer.
I'll tell you that I once won tickets to like a Fox FM, which is a big radio station here in Melbourne, a rooftop party. I was in the habit of just entering as many competitions as I could to win stuff. And I went along and they had like a pop star performer, I can't even remember. And I was talking to this guy, because most people there were either competition winners or VIPs. So it was a strange mix, and I was obviously a competition winner. And this guy started telling me how he was an author. And I was like, oh, okay, anything I've heard of? And he's like, have you heard of the Da Vinci Code? I was like, are you Dan Brown? And he's like, yeah, I am. And I looked him up, and it was definitely not him. He was lying. He was lying. Dan Brown, an American guy, and this guy, an Aussie dude for sure. So thanks for lying to me, mate.
That is amazing.
I know, it was
It's a
weird.
great lie.
Weird as
I
night.
think it was that Dan Brown that
Yeah.
just suggested it.
Yeah.
Maybe his name is Dan Brown.
Oh, maybe that's where he got it from. Maybe. Also, Richard Schubert III.
Ah,
Thank you,
Richard.
Richard.
He's also in the Golden Hat, Richard.
Yeah, great. Well, there you go, Richard. This is one of your golden. No, it's not. John Shearer and Dylan Byrne from Adelaide.
And there's a lot of...
Why is they're all from Adelaide or just Dylan?
I just know Dylan Byrne's a frequent tweeter and a good supporter of the
There's
show.
a lot of great frequent tweeters in there.
Yeah, awesome. Good
So
suggestion, guys.
It's an
Thank you.
all-star topic here. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. So, do you guys know anything about it?
I know it involves a lost colony
Hmm.
in North Carolina,
Oh, you have heard of it.
and that is on the east coast
And-
of the United States
you
of
are-
America.
you are the
And it
geography queen.
involves, obviously, Michael Jordan's college basketball career.
And
And he still wears his Lost Colony of Roanoke shorts underneath his Chicago Bulls uniform
But he
in
still
the
wears.
1990s.
He still wears it to this day.
Still to this day. He just keeps collecting layers of clothes.
He only ever wore his Chicago Bulls uniform. I'm 50 years old.
And the colony is actually named after a guy called Rowan Oakes.
That's true.
That is also true.
That's
That's not true.
well, it's part of the mystery.
Just in case.
No one knows that
It's
for
a
sure.
mystery mood.
All right, we're going to get into this mystery. Just a bit of background, because I feel like a lot of, well, maybe not all, but a lot of American listeners will probably know more about settlers coming to their continent more than we do. So if you are in that boat, I'm just
Interesting
gonna do
that you would assume that they'd know more than I do about
That is interesting.
my preferred.
Bit disappointing,
topic.
really.
I'm very educated.
I was talking about the other listeners,
Oh.
not you, Jess and Matt. You guys know everything.
Yeah,
we
I
know
never patronise
everything.
you. If you ever feel like I'm talking to you like you're dumb, I probably am.
And I probably deserve it.
I think he's talking to someone else, Jess.
He was making direct eye contact with us. But that's only because he can't look the listener in the eye.
Yeah.
Those dumb listeners.
Yeah.
Big old dummies.
Big dummies.
Ugh.
Well, like we always say, we got the best, lovely idiots listening who we love.
You listening right now, you're a dummy.
Yeah. All right, Dumbo, let's start the show. All right. Hope your headphones are in your ear holes, not your nose.
Again.
You've made that mistake before.
It smells like another great podcast.
All right, mate. dude.
Jess's laugh smells so good.
Ooh.
All right, here we go. Born in Italy, the explorer Christopher Columbus made 4 trips across the Atlantic Ocean from Spain. But he was backed by the Spanish in the late 15th century. He was determined to find a direct water route west from Europe to Asia, but he never did.
Asia.
I felt that
You
as soon
said
as I
it,
said
yeah,
it.
you said it wrong.
Asia.
Asia.
He never made it to Asia. Instead, he accidentally stumbled upon the
Fashion.
Americas.
Oh.
And fashion. American fashion. Although he did not really, quote-unquote, discover the New World, millions of people already live there, his journeys mark the beginning of centuries of transatlantic conquest and colonization. About 100 years later, in the late 16th century, where our story takes place, England, France, Spain, and the Netherlands launched major colonization programs in eastern North America. So either up top in Canada or right down to Florida. They all wanted a piece of the action and they wanted to set up settlements there. So that's sort of where we're at in historically speaking. We come to an English man born in 1552. Sir Walter Raleigh was an adventurer.
What's his last name?
Raleigh. Possibly...
Rahilly.
No, it's Raleigh. And I've heard it pronounced Raleigh and Raleigh.
Raleigh.
He was an adventurer,
Oh.
explorer, soldier, writer, lover,
Oh my god, he was everything
He was
and nothing.
he was a landed gentleman.
A landed.
Which is a
He wasn't waterborne.
social class in England where people make their income from renting out property and land that they own.
Landed.
Oh,
So-
he's a landlord.
Yeah, landlord. But I prefer to call my landlord the landed gentleman.
My
Dear
landlord
landed
is a
gentleman.
woman.
A landed gentle woman.
Mm.
Yeah, good. I don't know why I struggle with that.
Gentle.
What do I call the other sex? So he's a pretty famous English dude. In 1578, Raleigh set out with his half-brother, Sir Humphrey Gilbert,
Fuck yes.
on a voyage to North America to find the Northwest Passage. They never made it there and got distracted with a bit of a bust-up with Spanish shipping. So this happens frequently in this story. England versus Spain a lot of the time. Because Spain's already got land in Mexico and Florida in North America, so they're doing pretty well, and England sort of wants to catch up to them. Raleigh's brash actions against the Spanish were not well received by the monarch's advisors, and he was briefly imprisoned. And that was,
he's a bad boy.
and not for the last time.
Oh.
He goes to prison 3 times.
Oh.
At least 3 times.
Sizzle.
Nevertheless, the tall, handsome, and
Yes.
superbly confident Raleigh, who was also extremely well dressed, rose rapidly at Elizabeth I, who's the queen at the time, her court, and quickly became a favourite of the queen. He served in her army in Ireland and was knighted and became captain of the Queen's Guard, the soldiers in charge of guarding the official royal residences in the United Kingdom. So you go, so you see beefeater type people these days. They're part of the Queen's
Dave
Guard.
has a bit of a crush.
Well, maybe because a famous legend is that he once threw his cloak over a muddy puddle to keep the Queen from getting her feet wet.
Oh, that is something you would find very admirable.
Oh, yeah. I do it all the time. I stand near a puddle with a jacket waiting.
Come on, Queenie.
Where's the fucking
My
Queen?
time to shine. Where's the fucking Queen?
I imagined you waiting
be
by
a
the
gentleman.
puddle for someone to do it for you. You're like, hello,
How will I cross?
someone.
People walk past. I'm like, mate, that's a nice jacket there.
Isn't it a bit warm for that jacket?
Yeah.
Give me a jacket.
They're like, warm and a puddle? I don't think so. The Queen rewarded the handsome man handsomely.
Oh,
Yes, I
God.
wrote that. With a large estate in Ireland, lots of land, which he rented out and made money from, trade privileges, and eventually a knighthood.
Ooh, Sir Raleigh.
Yes. Ooh. But her biggest gift to him was on March 25th, 1584, Queen Elizabeth I granted Sir Walter Raleigh a charter for the colonisation of the area of North America. This charter specified that Raleigh needed to establish a colony in North America or lose his right to colonisation. He was granted rights to explore, colonise, and rule any, quote, remote, heathen, and barbarous lands, countries, and territories not actually possessed by a Christian prince or inhabited by Christian people.
Oh,
So
wow.
basically, the deal was, if you
wow.
go to America and there's no Christians there, it's yours.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that was her decree.
Wow, that's fucked. Like if there's no one there that already owns it, and I mean I don't mean like
No
people.
Christians.
Yeah, if there's a prince nearby
who's
who's
obviously
a
Christian.
prince, then absolutely, that's theirs. But if there's no Christians, yours.
That's just classic Christianity, isn't it? Love thy neighbour unless they're not a Christian.
It sucks.
Yep. The charter also specified that he had 7 years to establish a settlement, or he would lose his right to do so. Why were you laughing at that, Jess?
Just 7 years is a long time.
And
No,
it's
but I suppose it takes about 4 months just to get there.
No, I know, but 7 years is a long time.
It is.
Regardless, if you gave me 7 years to do something, I'm not starting that for 6.5 years.
Jess is like, fuck,
Needed
I've got
it, like-
6 months to colonise North America. Get in the ship.
Get in the ship.
But it's a funny thing because it's like, I'm going to let you be able to colonize North America. Unless you don't do it in 7 years, then you're not allowed to do the thing that I'm allowing you to do.
Yeah.
It's like a weird loop, right?
Yeah, it's
Well,
weird.
I think it was more like, do it in 7 years, but if you don't have the chutzpah to get it done, I'll get someone else in.
I'll get someone with chutzpah.
Yeah.
in 7 years'
Chutzpah.
time.
Unless that person with chutzpah is not a Christian. So that's what that's what he wants to do. And obviously, if you go over there and you can claim anything you like, you're going to get real rich. So he's pretty keen to get involved in this.
Sure.
Although he didn't go himself, Raleigh funded and organised a reconnaissance trip to North America on April 27, 1584, which is like a month later, so he's done pretty well.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Jess is 6 years, 6 months later.
Bloody keen as, isn't he?
Jeez
Jeez
Louise.
Louise, settle down, mate. Oh, we're all very impressed.
Nerd.
Yeah, what a-
Put your fucking jacket back on.
He's the guy. Pens down, I'm done. All right, mate.
Fuck
We get it.
off. Yeah, good for
There's
you.
still another half an hour. We're all still working.
You've missed a page of the exam, you
Yeah.
fucking idiot.
Well done, though. No, you put your pen down real quick. Fuck off, guy. You
Fuck off, car guy.
car guy.
Fucking hate car guys.
Yeah, go drive away. He's old, too. He's too old to be in this exam.
So, April, the expedition is led by Philip Armidas and Arthur Barlow, and they set off with 2 ships, so which is obviously a pretty small fleet.
Spare ship.
Ship each.
Yeah, ship each. That's great. Oh, small fleet. We've both got a ship. Would you prefer to have like a rope out the back, tugging along some more spare ships?
When we fly to Sydney, we're taking 3 planes.
3 planes at least.
Yeah.
No, that's true, of course.
Ugh.
Well, basically, they just want to go
Breathing
there.
the same enclosed air as you guys.
Ugh,
Yuck.
No, thank you.
So they wanted to go to the eastern coast of North America. 3.5 months later, they arrived at Roanoke Island.
Named after Roanoke.
Oh, no.
Roanoke, that's right. Off the coast of
When does he come into the story?
Look, Matt, I don't interrupt your reports, do I? Except every 2 seconds. Roanoke Island, which is off the coast of North Carolina.
Which is on the east coast of the country.
Where Michael Jordan played college
Yeah.
bus.
Great, just for context. The island is about 8 miles or 12 kilometres long and 2 miles or 3k wide. So it's not huge.
It's a small island.
It's just a few kilometres off the coast, and it's right near Kitty Hawk, the sand dune filled place where the Wright brothers perfected their Wright flyer. About 300 years later.
Do you think they're connected?
Yeah, it's all related.
The group, who were on the recon, wrote glowing reports of the area, of the island. They encountered Native Americans.
Non-Christians.
Yes, the Roanoke people. That's why it's actually called Roanoke. It's named after the people from the area. And they'd lived on Roanoke
All
Island.
known as Roanoke. Their parents didn't have a great imagination.
All of their names are Rowan.
Or Oak. They'd lived on Roanoke Island and the surrounding areas. There's a bunch of islands and sort of bay and stuff around there for thousands of years. So they've been there a long time. The Native Americans were friendly to the English, and the 2 parties were fascinated with each other.
Aww.
The English had arrived at a time of plenty, a season where the Native Americans had lots of food to share with the English, who had trouble creating their own crops.
Aww.
So they were happy to share.
Oh, that's nice. I can't see anything going wrong.
Well, how about this next sentence?
Nope.
When the reconnaissance party returned to England, they took 2 of the Native American leaders, a man named One Cheese and a man named Manteo. It does not know how the men were convinced to go to England or if they were just made to go.
But probably invited and graciously accepted. Thank you. We would love to come to England.
You've given us all this food. Let's bring you back.
Do you want to see what we've
place.
got?
We'll bring you some food at Apple.
We wanna
got?
repay the
pie
favour.
floaters or whatever we do in England. It's
Pie
Adelaide. What do they do in England?
They do the bangers
Cheesy
and mash.
chips, bangers and mash, pints of lager,
Bovril.
Bovril, and of course
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew. Thank you.
Great.
One Cheese and Manteo. So these people, there's 2 boats that go on there, scattered it out.
I want to make a joke about one cheese, but it feels insensitive.
Probably best you don't.
Oh, there's something bad about that. But
No, I won't.
I'm curious to hear what this
No, it just
joke
sounds
is.
like he's
Jess
just,
has got a
he
joke.
just wants cheese.
He wants cheese. How's
now
that
I'm looking at-
insensitive?
And
We
you know-
all want
No,
cheese.
it's insensitive because he's lactose intolerant.
Now I'm looking.
That is insensitive.
I'm looking at it's CHESE. One Cheese. How would you say it? Let's go with One Cheese. I apologise if I'm mispronouncing it. One Cheese and Manteo went back with the men, and they caused a sensation when they came to England because these are people from the old world versus the new world type thing. So they've never seen white people. White people have never seen Native Americans before. So it's obviously pretty overwhelming for everyone. They stayed at Raleigh's house in London,
Oh,
which is on the Thames.
just on a fold-out couch that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Futon.
That's
Just around the
nice.
corner from an elephant and wheelbarrow or a walkabout hotel.
What's that?
That's
Jongless Comedy Club, the chain of English comedy clubs. So, and Raleigh had language experts decipher the men's Carolina Algonquian again, probably mispronounced, language. That's the language that they spoke. The language was decoded, which is pretty amazing. And
What?
the two men could now communicate with the English.
What?
Yeah.
They just figured it out.
Yeah.
What
And
the
pretty quickly.
fuck?
Pretty quickly.
Why can't we do that now?
They just decoded it.
What do you mean
It's not a fucking puzzle.
What do you mean you can decode? What do you mean?
No, but now, let's say, for
I
example...
learned Italian for 4 years.
Yeah, I've got...
They'd already decoded it. And I couldn't tell you more than
Yeah, that's
2
what I mean.
sentences.
That's not a code.
How do you just figure out what the language is? That's amazing.
I guess they're linguistic
It's not
experts.
like having...
And it's probably not like as conversational as we are being now. It's probably pointing to things and going,
Sure.
oh, I know what you mean.
Sure. But I mean, like, if we had a French person visit us right now, for example, we would get an interpreter who knows that language because they've learnt that language or speak that language anyway, and then they could interpret between. These people have just figured out their language, and now they can all just chat. They just decoded it. Do you not think that's really interesting?
It is. It's incredible.
What we would do now, though,
Is an app.
No, we'd go.
We'd get an app.
We'd go. I'm assuming these people can speak English because
Come on.
we're fucking lazy
Yeah.
Australian assholes who just assume people could. You can speak what I speak. I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything here. I'll speak a little slower.
Or louder.
Yeah, slower and louder. That's the way you can cut through. That's how I decode. Yes, please, over here. Thank you. One drink.
Yeah. Look, mate, I'm going to stand here until you go back into the kitchen and find someone who can speak my language.
I did a few times when I tried to speak like French in France. They'd go, I speak English. It's okay. Please, no more ruining of our language.
This is embarrassing
stop.
for you, embarrassing for me.
I was
And
always like, how do they know straight away that I speak? Because I did Italian at school, so I would try to speak Italian to Italians, and they would initially answer me with like a hello in Italian, and then they'd go, "How can I help?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn it! I wanted to trick you into thinking I was one of you."
Oh, I had
But it's
that.
probably because I'm going, "Buongiorno."
G'day, buongiorno.
Where is this buongiorno I keep hearing so much about?
Come stai?
Sta così così.
Mi chiamo Jess. E tu?
Mi chiamo Gesso. Rigididge.
How do you say nailed it? But back to England, where they've deciphered their language, or at least part of it. Manteo, one of the Indian tribal leaders, was reportedly fascinated with the Europeans' technology and was keen on learning English. One Cheese, however, the other leader, showed little interest in learning English and did not befriend his hosts, remaining suspicious of the English motives and thought them more as his captors. I
Yeah.
think. So one of them's really keen and fascinated with everything, and the other one's a bit more standoffish. I'd probably be in the latter camp, to be honest, if they just chucked me on a boat and taken me 4 months to a place that looks nothing like I'd ever seen before. Raleigh reported the discovery of Roanoke Island to his queen, Queen Elizabeth I, and he was knighted for his efforts. So that's
Oh.
Which one's Queen Elizabeth again? The redhead?
what the Virgin Queen, yes.
Yeah, she's one of the famous ones. Real long reign.
Really
Is that
long.
it? Yeah.
Virgin Queen?
Yeah, she was a
Even the Queen couldn't get a good dickin'.
she could like,
What heard that phrase?
oh, you never had a
Maybe ever.
she never had a
Good Dickon.
get a Charles Dickens.
No, when you put it like that, a Charles Dickens. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
you've
of
heard
that.
of that.
I've heard of that. Good Charles Dickens.
Yeah. Tale of Two Dickies.
I'm sorry.
Never apologise.
Yeah, she was the
Never apologise.
She was the Virgin Queen.
Okay, well, don't harp on about it. I'm sure she did lots of things.
Oh no, but she was very famous for being.
Yeah, but, don't have to bloody... I feel bad for
And her
it.
father was
I'm guessing it was by choice, right?
No,
Yeah, I
she's
think she
just
was,
a real uggo.
Well, I mean, sure, we've all seen photos, but
Well,
Nobody wanted to.
You'd probably be a virgin too if your father was Henry VIII and had chopped off 2 of his wife's heads.
yeah,
You'd be like, yeah, probably not going to bother doing that.
Good point.
Uh,
I'm glad that's where you went, because for a minute I thought you were going to finish that sentence as, you'd probably be a virgin too. I'm like, no.
if you were that uggo
a redhead. Yeah,
in the
Ugh.
16th century.
I'm a redhead. I'm allowed to say that. If any redheads at home are getting offended, I was being ironic. We are the most beautiful race.
Wow. Taking that out of context.
The two Native American men were able to describe the politics and geography of the area to Raleigh, who was now convinced a colony could be set up on Roanoke Island, so he organised a second expedition. So that was one of the good things about bringing these two tribal people. They could tell him about the area, about the other tribes that they fought against, which the dangerous bits, what they ate, that kind of stuff.
She was an ogre.
Oh, she's real
And
ugly.
look at that weird neck she's got, for starters.
Yeah,
Oh.
she's got a frill neck.
She's got a Jacobean ruff.
Oh,
No.
no.
Got a very narrow face.
People looked different back then.
Yeah, and also it's a painting.
Have you looked at her dad? Jesus.
Her dad was Jesus?
Well, her dad liked to think that he was talking to Jesus, and that's why he could split the church, and it was fine.
Hey, it doesn't matter how you look, Dave. I just want to make that clear.
Oh, very clear.
I'm not a shallow.
It's
Okay,
about- what's
all
it-
I want to say, it
it-
doesn't matter how you look, it just matters if you were born into royalty, and therefore you can fuck everyone you want.
Even uggos
Or
can
not.
deserve a good Charles Dickens.
Especially uggos.
Yeah, a pity Charles Dickens.
Nothing better. So he's organised a second expedition in Raleigh. This expedition was about 100 men across 5 ships, and Manteo and Wanchese were returned to their homes. You'll
Oh.
be pleased to know.
Okay, that's good.
When I started reading about them, I was like, it's not going to end well. But they got to go home. Manteo acted as an interpreter and a guide for the English, and Wanchese, who didn't like them as much, went back to join his people. The second colony was intended to be for a military post for men only. But they lacked supplies and arrived at a bad time of year to be able to grow crops. The English started stealing from the Native American tribes, robbing their fish traps. And unlike before, it was no longer a season of the year when they had a surplus of food. It was like a wintry type thing. So they couldn't afford to share with the English anymore. So tensions started to rise between them.
Oh no.
Right, so the first time they were thinking, this is just how it is.
Yeah, they've got heaps of food.
Yeah.
You're cool with it? And then they went back and the tribe are like, no, we need that to live.
Yeah, this is to survive.
This is ours. If the first trip spelled good relations for the English and the native folk, that was soon destroyed and hostilities formed between the two groups of people. I can't imagine why. The settlers routinely kidnapped local tribal leaders and held them for ransom, despite relying on these, quote, savages for food and supplies. Isn't that... It's like,
Threaten them.
hey, you guys know how to survive here, so we'll just capture your leader and you'll give us all the food or we'll kill him.
Yeah, clearly you guys are the savages.
Yeah, I know. It's so stupid.
Because you're not Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. That makes sense to
I
me.
gets it. You're a redhead. You get how
I get it.
Elizabeth first thought.
You're the best race.
Hmm.
Yeah, as you
Yeah,
said before.
and we're a race.
Uh,
Your
th-
words, mate.
They also blamed one of the Native Americans for stealing one of their valuable silver cups, so retaliated by sacking and burning that man's entire village.
Sacking, similar to Dickin.
They sacked it.
Mm.
Is that where it's like where you when you toilet paper a tree or a house, they just throw sacks all over everything? Because that would
It's like
be
teabagging.
bloody. That would be annoying to clean up.
Yeah, it would.
Mm.
In between all that fire. They said fire to your village. Jesus. The English lived inside a fort that they'd built.
Pillow fort.
Pillow fort, of course. From all the sacks, the surplus sacks. Sack fort. They were attacked by Indian villages that they had ransacked, and they were lucky to hold them off. So now they're sort of basically at war with each other. Soon after the attack, another famous Englishman, Sir Francis Drake, was on his way home from a successful raid around the corner in the Caribbean, and he stopped at the colony and offered to take the colonists back to England because he saw that they were struggling. Several accepted. These Roanoke colonists introduced tobacco, maize, and potatoes to England.
Oh, that's cool.
There you go. Walter Raleigh is actually credited with popularising tobacco in England.
Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
So,
He's less impressive now.
But he brought potatoes to America,
And I fucking love
which ended up in
potatoes.
Idaho, where the Spuds Club formed.
That's a good point.
Matt knows his history. So a few people went home, but the rest are sticking out in the fort.
If you bury a spud, do more spuds grow?
It's a
Yeah.
possibility.
Is it like the seed?
It is, isn't it? It's like it's the root, isn't it? And then
Yeah, it grows.
it sprouts up
Have
from
you
there.
ever left a potato too long in your pantry?
Mm,
You go
it's
into
little...
it, roots are getting out of it. Yeah, that's it.
So it might not grow more potatoes, but it'll flower. And maybe those flowers become potatoes. Welcome to Agriculture Hour Do go on.
Maybe those flowers become potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we ask questions and then we make ourselves look real dumb.
Well, you look it up, Jess. I think you'll find that I nailed
I
it.
think you find that the potato flower is pretty cool thing. But back on the island, the remaining men are running out of food and under constant fear of attack. They decided to abandon the settlement and return to England in the ships that they came on, which is a bit of a bummer.
They came on the ships.
Yeah, and then they sailed to wash it off. It's a bit of a bummer that they left, because if they'd stayed for 2 more. It's a bummer that they left, because if they'd stayed for 2 more weeks, the men would have there was a supply ship coming from England that came 2 weeks later, and it was like, hey, where's all the dudes?
Oh no. It's a bloody Burke and Wills, isn't
That's
it?
Beckham Wills
a bit
all
of
over
Beckham-
again,
Need to work out a way to communicate, walkie-talkies or something. When the supply ship they'd been waiting for arrived, it found the colony deserted, and wanting to keep the territory for England, they dropped off 15 soldiers to hold the fort, so to speak,
Oh dear.
and wait for more English people to arrive. So now there's just 15 people on the island.
And
They're
a
soldiers.
new 15.
New 15.
They don't know the lay of the land.
They wanted to wait for more English people to arrive, and arrive they did. The third group of people is now known to history as the Lost Colony of Roanoke. So
What will happen to them?
So this was all preamble. The story starts now.
Oh jeez.
Check your watches, ladies and gentlemen. In 1587, Raleigh sent a new group of 115 colonists to establish a colony on Chesapeake Bay off the east coast of Virginia, which is north of Roanoke Island, a long way up.
115 people.
115. This time, men were joined by women and children, 17 women and 9 children. So they want to make it's not just soldiers this time. They actually want to start like a new society. Instead of wages, each settler was deeded a 50-acre plot, thereby giving them a stake in the undertaking.
Huh.
So if it's a success, you'll be a success.
If it's not,
You'll die a horrible, horrible death.
hooray!
This expedition, the third one, was led by a man named John White.
Oh, boring name.
It's the most boring name ever.
J-O-H-N?
J-O-H-N.
Yeah, boring.
White, W-H-I-T-E.
Ugh. Boring.
He was an artist
Hmm.
and a friend of Raleigh who had accompanied the previous expedition to Roanoke. So he'd been there a lot.
What kind of art? Like quite postmodern Art Deco?
No, like really good watercolors and sketches.
Boring.
I'm sorry he didn't create
Pop
art.
art.
He didn't create Art Deco 350 years before
I
anyone
like
else.
it's the Campbell cans or nothing for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
High art then.
Careful. This is referring to the modern art, Dave.
Pop
you
art.
dildo.
Anyway.
Pop art.
Pop art.
Or literally just the labels on the cans. Still art. I think it's art either way.
Everything's art.
Everything's art.
He'd extensively, this is John White, he's a good artist, he's extensively sketched the landscape and local Native American people. These works are significant as they are the most informative illustrations of a Native American society on the eastern seaboard, and now those drawings are in the British Museum.
Well, good for John White.
Because, well, it's kind of like the equivalent of travelling to like a brand new land and taking a photo and coming back, because he's sketched, if you look at him, they're really, really good. He's a great artist.
Okay.
Pay him that, Jess.
All right.
Pay him.
I'm just saying he's boring.
Sorry.
But sure, he's a good artist.
Boring old John White was appointed governor of the 1587 colony, and of the 115 people, 12 assistants were named to aid in the setting up of the colony.
That's a good number of assistants.
Dozen. Happy with dozen?
I'd go baker's dozen, to be honest, but that's just me.
On the way to Chesapeake Bay, remember that's where they're going now.
Chesapeake Bay.
Chesapeake Bay.
Chesapeake. That's me.
Just a bee, that's me.
That's me.
Hey everyone, let's let this girl name everything from now on. Imagine that. She's really going to come out with names. Jess, what would you call this boat?
Chesapeake.
She's done it again. They're on the way to Chesapeake Bay. On the way there, they were ordered to stop off at Roanoke Island to pick up the 15 soldiers that were left there the previous year. But when they arrived on July 22nd, 1587, they found the settlement abandoned and in shambles.
Ooh.
The bones of one of the 15 soldiers there before them were the only physical evidence of what had befallen the previous settlers.
Yeah.
How long had passed?
A a few months.
Oh.
That's not enough time to rot down to your bones, is it?
Yeah, so I don't think you rotted.
Yeah, if you're out in the open.
Oh, okay. I don't understand.
Just down to
science.
bone? No, surely not.
It's been quite a few months.
Oh, yeah, okay, but...
Out in the open. I guess if vultures are picking away at the meat, the meat and potatoes.
They probably are. Oh, God.
Oh, do you think they ate his balls?
Yeah, they're,
I think that is.
Jess, they're the first to go.
Yes,
They're,
of course they're the
they're a
first.
delicacy for vultures.
Vultures, they're highly sought after.
They call them the ball bird.
Soldier balls, yeah, they love balls.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be the first to go?
Yes.
The balls?
The balls.
What if you were still a bit alive?
Even
No
more
good.
reason.
No good.
Because the balls might be taken away. Get them while you can.
That'd hurt.
Yeah, ideally you get the balls while they're still fresh.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
If the balls start rotting, you don't want them.
Yeah.
You don't want rotten balls.
When
No.
if the balls are rotten, don't come a knocking.
Yeah.
What about the
what they say.
peen?
But the balls are fresh.
Eat them, Jess.
That's what they say.
If your vulture's name is Jess, obviously.
Which I would
Which,
obviously know the
in
vulture
that
Jess.
place,
Yeah.
yes, they were all.
Oh. Poor balls.
So all they found, they found bones of 1 of 15 men. And remember, these soldiers, they had a fort and cannons and all kinds of stuff. All gone, and they were presumably all dead. So they started freaking out a little bit.
Holy shit.
When they could find no one, the master pilot and a Spanish man who had defected to serve for England, a man named Simon Fernandez.
I was going to say Simon's not a very Spanish-sounding name.
Probably Simon Fernandez.
Fernandez.
He refused to let the colonists return to the ships, insisting that they establish a new colony on Roanoke instead of keep going to Chesapeake Bay.
Why?
Fernandez and Governor White did not get along, and basically Fernandez just wouldn't let them get back on the boat.
How can this one guy not let... How many people? 115?
Yeah.
He's just standing, you know when you stand in a doorway with your arms and you're
Thinking
like, nah,
big.
what's the password? What's the password, dickhead?
You
Can't get
three,
on.
You get 3 shots.
Can't get on the boat. Fuck off. It's my boat.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, according to White's journal, Fernandez, his deputy, called to the sailors, charging them not to bring any of the planters back again, the people, but leave them on the island. Faced with what amounted to be a mutiny by his navigator, White appeared to have backed down and let Fernandez have his way and sail off, leaving them there.
What the fuck?
Wait, Fernandez sailed off.
Yeah, so he was, that was his job. He was in charge of the ship.
Right.
But then White's in charge of him, but he didn't listen to White anymore. People have speculated about his motive, this guy Fernandez. Remember, he's Spanish. He apparently claimed that the weather was more appropriate for them to stop at Roanoke and that they had to leave because of an impending hurricane, which I've read reports that's possibly bullshit. White speculates the reason that he may have been prompted by his desire and his crew to return to the West Indies, which is close to North Carolina than where they were going, to pursue opportunities of piracy against the Spanish where they could make more money. So basically he's like, no, you guys stay here and I'll go be a pirate over here and I'll get rich.
Right.
And I don't think White was a very good leader because he let the guy go. So now, 115 men, women and children are stuck on Roanoke Island, governed by John White, who had brought his pregnant daughter and her husband along with them. So they're part of the group.
Grandpa White.
Governor White worked to re-establish relations with the Croatoan and other local tribes, the people that they'd had a lot of trouble with in the past. But the ones that they'd fought previously refused to meet with him, not surprisingly. Shortly thereafter, colonist George Howe, who was part of the group, was killed by a Native American while searching alone for crabs on the beach. So, it's not going well.
No. Look, it's not great.
You're now trapped on an island with people that don't really like you. Because of the broken relations with most of the tribes, the settlers were dependent on supplies for England, and things were not easy for them. So they can't really grow enough food to feed everyone.
Oh, dear.
Governor White's burdens were lightened when his daughter gave birth in August to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas.
Huh.
Doesn't that increase his burden, not lighten it? Now he's got to look after an extra mouth to feed.
This baby is a tragedy. Whilst the colonists were struggling to survive, it was decided that White would return to England to gather up some much-needed supplies, get a boat, and come back and sort of rescue everyone.
So does he have there was a spare boat?
But like a smaller one?
Right.
So big enough for him and a few people to go home, but they can't get 115 people on
The
board.
leader. What a great leader. I'm going to
I'll
leave
go.
you all here.
I'll come back.
I'll go. I'll leave my baby baby granddaughter here.
I'll go. It's fine.
That he was
BRB.
Yeah.
possibly bravely or stupidly, he crossed the Atlantic at a time of year where it was considered a considerable risk. But he made it. He made it home. However, once he got home to England, a war broke out between England and Spain, and every single ship was commandeered by the Navy to attack the powerful Spanish Armada. So this left White with no way to get back to Roanoke. So now he's got to wait till this war finishes so he can get a ship. In the spring of 1588, which is the next year, White managed to acquire 2 small vessels and sailed back to Roanoke. However, his attempt to return was thwarted when the captains of the ships attempted to capture several Spanish ships on the way there. They thought they could get a bit more cash on the way if they captured these Spanish ships, but they themselves were captured and their cargo seized. So he's got all these supplies locked and loaded to go drop off, and then they roll the dice and lose. So with nothing left to deliver to the colonists, he had to go back to England.
Fuck.
John White, what a battler.
John White is a battler. He wasn't able to get back to Roanoke with supplies for 3 years.
Oh, shit.
3 years.
Guys, I'll be right back.
BRB.
Seriously.
3 years.
6 months max. I gotta get back, turn around, come back here. It's just travel time.
Let's travel. Sorry,
The
stuck
admin
in
the
traffic.
middle, yeah, the admin in the middle, super easy.
So
No problem.
just
I'll
gotta
get
grab
it
a
done.
boat, get some gear.
You won't even know I'm gone. It'll fly.
Kick back.
3 years later.
I know, it's crazy. He finally gained passage on a privateering expedition organised by John Watts and Walter Raleigh. So these people they've hitched a ride on a boat that's already going to that area.
Do you know what? It's not so bad that it took him 3 years because he had 7.
Guys, I've got ages.
That's real keen. I
I've
wouldn't
got
do it in
ages.
3.
They give everyone
If I
gets
had
7 years
7
to do anything back then. That's just how it was.
That's what you get.
That's why there's that age gap between my brother and I.
Yeah,
It
had
was
7.
like you got to have another one within 7 years and then no more.
Your parents didn't do anything in that 7-year
They
period.
did nothing. And they listened. They did nothing in that time.
They waited. Yeah, I reckon John was like, "Should we just get the second one done now?"
Why? What's
And he's
that?
like, "We got 7
We got
years.
7 years.
Let's wait till 6 years, 3 months.
Yep.
We'll get it done."
And they did. And then
the
their
rest,
life
they
actually
say-
began.
Yeah.
Before that, they were just shells of people.
Yeah. The first one was just a practice run, but then we perfected it
Mm-hmm.
7 years later.
That's right.
And they were great at naming things. They used to also name everything Jess. And that is how Jess became Jess.
Did you name yourself?
The
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Call me
They-
Jess. Okay.
Alrighty.
So they're on this private ship now. This private ship agreed to stop off at Roanoke on the way back to England after raiding the Spanish in the Caribbean.
Okay.
So they're like, we'll do a bit of plundering, but on the way back, you can stop off and see if your daughter and grandchild are still alive. White landed on August 18th, 1590, his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. But as the party stepped ashore, there was no sign of the
They had a
colony.
third
birthday
birthday
party.
party.
Yes!
I totally missed what you just said.
Birthday party. It was as the party arrived.
Oh, right.
Streamers and everything. Third
Yeah.
birthday.
Oh,
Cake.
you better believe he's wearing a hat.
Oh, yeah.
Which was weird because they normally would take 7 years to have a third birthday party. We're celebrating your 3rd birthday. They're normally 10, obviously.
There was no sign of the colonists or the settlement.
No, no.
His men could not find any trace of the 90 men, 17 women, and 10 children left behind. Crazy.
Okay.
Their houses? No, just
Haunted.
He'd only just left them
Trapdoors.
3
Trapdoors.
odd years ago. Trapdoors.
I'm going with theories
Tunnels.
early.
I reckon
Oh.
tunnels under the
Tunnels.
island.
Yeah.
mole people.
Mole people.
Mole man.
Well, Jess, I really hate when you jump ahead to my conclusion, which was going to be, in conclusion, mole people. Thank you, goodbye. But you ruined it. Now I have to go... Can't even go through these facts that I've got here. All the boring evidence of what really happened.
In conclusion, mole people.
That's always the reason for everything.
Jess, why haven't you done your homework? Mole people.
I think you know.
You just point to a badge that says it
A
was the
badger.
mole people. He points to a badger like that, but a mole.
We didn't have a mole here. They're all with my homework. There's a badger, which gives you the idea.
So the people aren't there. Their houses and fortifications had been taken down. Not burned, not destroyed, indicating that they did not leave in a hurry. So, like, packed down.
Right.
Like, they've got the Allen key out. They've dismantled the IKEA furniture. It's all gone.
Okay.
The only sign that they had even been there was a section of large wooden fence that would have been the perimeter of the camp. That remained, and the word Croatoan was carved into the wood, and crow was carved into a tree. Like someone was carving it again, the message.
So spooky.
Croatoan.
Like they didn't get through it the second time, you mean? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or maybe they decided,
It said
maybe
crow ...
maybe they weren't...
Yeah, you get it.
crow, etc.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'd done the second one on the tree and been like, oh, yeah, they don't need this. Or that was the first one. The fence, that's better.
Yeah.
I said do it on the fence. What are you doing? The tree could grow back. He won't be back for 7 years. But Croatoan is the name of a nearby island.
Oh.
Croatoan.
That's a pretty clear clue.
Yeah. Good clue.
Very good clue.
White
strong
was
clue.
very surprised because the colonists had all agreed that if they were ever in trouble or if they were forced to leave, that they would carve the symbol of a Maltese cross into wood.
What's a Maltese cross look like?
Well, just a cross, but a little bit
Or
flamboyant.
Maltese. The Maltese are flamboyant people.
A bit flamboyant.
It's like a Maltese cross Shih Tzu. You know. I got a Maltese cross Shih Tzu. You know what I'm talking about.
A dog. They carve a dog into the tree. That was the symbol. Not even specifying what it's crossed with. That was just their way out of having to draw an accurate Maltese. It doesn't quite look like a Maltese. Oh, it's a Maltese cross.
It's cross. it's a bit of a mutt. I also love I also love that, like, they're like you, Jess. Like, everyone, all right, it's agreed. If we leave in panic, we'll do a Maltese cross. It gets to the day they're panicking, and no one knows what's a Maltese cross look like. I don't know.
But like, if
I
you
assumed you knew.
Yeah, if you say draw a cross in the tree, I'd draw a cross.
Yeah.
But then you got like a Christian cross or an X marks the spot cross. What's a Maltese cross?
This is a Maltese cross. I've just Google imaged it.
Ah, I see. I get it.
Kind of looks like a four-leaf clover.
It does a
clover.
bit. Yeah.
It's a good looking cross.
It's a good...
I enjoyed that a lot.
Okay. So that's a pretty fucking big clue to me, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Croatoan. That's the name of an island. They must have gone there.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no.
White wanted to explore Croatoan Island to look for the settlers, but low on provisions, the loss of sea anchors in a storm, impending bad weather, and privateers' general impatience and wanting to go home prevented them from stopping there. So he went, oh, let's just go over there and look. And they were like, we've got to go.
Oh.
No one went. They didn't go.
What the
They didn't look
fuck?
for him.
How would they have gotten there? They didn't have a boat, right?
Oh, they would have had smaller boats. So it would have taken probably several trips back and forth.
Right.
That's a possibility.
Like that.
But you'd go and look, right? Wouldn't you? You'd go and
Yeah,
look.
you'd go and
There's
look.
120 of you people there.
They had, the tricky thing was that they had a fox, a chicken,
What's the other one?
and eggs or something like that. And they had to,
Yeah, they had one boat, and you can't leave the fox alone with the chicken.
obviously.
Do you know that puzzle, Jess?
No.
I was going to say it sounds really weird if you don't know, and Jess didn't. It's this... Oh, don't worry about it, Jess. You won't get it.
I think I do.
It's a maths problem.
No, I won't.
You would
get
hate it.
I won't get it.
It's one of those tedious things.
I'm a big dumb. So what, you can only take one thing.
Well, I think the thing is like, you can only fit one thing in the boat at a time. But you can't leave the hen on shore with the fox because the fox will eat the hen, and you can't leave the hen on shore with the hay because the hen will eat the hay. So it's like this complicated thing where you take the fox. What a fucking hens
right,
eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what the third thing was. Definitely a hen and a fox. And also a 1995 Game Boy.
And you can't leave a fox alone with a Game
No.
Boy. It'll fuck it.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going
It'll
for
clock all the. It'll delete all your saved levels.
Ah. Trade all your good Pokemon.
Yeah. It'll delete all your good Pokemon. Don't set it free. It's level 94. So they didn't go. 12 years went by
Oh, for fuck's sake.
before Raleigh, who's in charge of all this shit, decided to find out what had happened to his lost colony.
Including his granddaughter?
No,
No,
it's
Walter
John
No, that
Raleigh.
was Walter White.
Yeah,
Walter
that's what-
White, not Walter
John
White.
White.
John White.
Johnny
Fuck.
White, the artist, the bad governor.
Yeah.
I just said, because twice now people have said, no, we don't want to do that. And he's gone, okay. Like, hey, we want to leave you here, possibly to die. Okay. We're not going to go 5 miles over there to see if your family's still
It's a
alive.
bit meek.
Okay. That's all
Just a little
good.
meek.
Poor old Johnny
The meek
White.
will inherit the earth, Dave. Remember that.
How? How?
They're so meek.
You gotta fucking grab it. Use your hands, John. Stop drawing. Pick up an axe.
You Maltese Shih Tzu.
Yeah, you fucking Maltese Shih Tzu.
Oh, that's something that Dave hasn't mentioned. It was a John White is a small dog.
That's why when people said to him,
Stay.
we're going to leave you here. Stay. Okay.
Roll over. He rolled over and he just let him do whatever
He was
they
a
wanted.
very obedient
Very
dog.
good boy.
He loved a good scratch behind the ear and he'll do whatever you want. So 12 years later, Walter Raleigh, he wants to find out what's going on. Led by Samuel Mace, this expedition differed from previous voyages in that Raleigh bought his own ship and guaranteed the sailors' wages so they would not be distracted by privateering or piracy. Because what's happened is, a few times they've tried to organise people to go back, but every time they get distracted by piracy on the way. Which is so...
That's so good. Like they literally see something shiny and
Yeah,
they
they
get
go,
distracted.
ooh, gold!
That meme that's been overdone over the last few months with the distracted man.
Oh, yeah.
It's piracy, is that lady. Look, a spoken meme is never going to go particularly well.
Matt, I want you to try and post that meme later this week.
I will do my best.
But, however, Raleigh still hoped to make money from the trip, and Mace's ship first landed in the Outer Banks to gather some rare wood so that they could sell back in England. So by the time they could turn their attention to the colonists, the weather had again turned bad, and they were forced to return without ever making it to Roanoke Island. So they still got distracted by piracy.
This mystery is starting to sound less like a mystery and more like there was so long that these guys all died of old age.
Yeah.
There's no mystery.
Maybe.
Maybe.
In 1603, Queen Elizabeth I died, and so did Raleigh's favour with the monarchy. He was arrested for allegedly trying to get rid of the new king, King James I.
The Scottish
It was
king.
the Scottish
James
king.
Stewart, my grandpappy.
Your grandpappy. So, what Raleigh, possibly or possibly not, was plotting against to get rid of him, because it's difficult for Elizabeth to have an heir when she's a virgin. For God's
What will you
sake.
harp on about?
All she had was air. It's almost something. She didn't have any babies. She had air. All she let out of her self was air. No babies.
All right.
She had an air. You know, it feels like it's almost something, doesn't it? It's so close to being very good.
Do you want me to give you
But
5?
not quite, meaning it's nothing.
Okay.
Just air.
I'll give you 5 minutes to come back with a great quip.
Quip.
So, Raleigh's arrested for plotting against the new king.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I said he went to jail before?
Yeah.
This time he goes to the Tower of London for 13 years.
Oh my god.
Not a nice place to be.
No.
So
The
he was
queues are very bad there. Have you been there, the Tower of London?
the tiny little window.
Ugh, it's the worst. I walked past it, to be honest.
On the way to the pub.
It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
I went in. It's £40 or something to do a tour.
Yeah, too much.
That's too much.
It's too much.
I can think of much better things you could spend £40 on.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah.
was spent
Pound-
£40 worth of M&Ms at M&M World.
Or, you know, there's plenty of pound pint nights
Yeah.
when I was there 10 years ago.
40 pubs.
a £1 for 1 pint.
Yeah, pound pint.
That's
It's
incredible.
ridiculous, isn't it? Thinking about it now. It's like $2.50 for a pint.
No, it's like $1.80 or something, isn't it? It's even.
Pound.
Anyway, I mean, it's probably all relative, isn't it?
Hey,
Depending
it's-
on when you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in 1904, when the pound was, inflation's gone up a lot since Matt was a child.
That's true. When I was drinking pints in England as a young boy.
As a young lad, a young pup. So now Walter Raleigh's now in the Tower of London. He's no longer able to go and look for his colony because his life's gone to shit.
Great excuse.
There was one final expedition in 1603 led by Bartholomew Gilbert with the intention of finding Roanoke colonists. So this is now 16 years later. Or 15 years later. Their intended destination was Chesapeake Bay again, but bad weather forced them to land in an unspecified location near there. The landing team, including Gilbert himself, was killed by a group of Native Americans for unknown reason. The remaining crew were forced to return to England empty-handed. So again, no one's actually got there. So what happened to them? What happened to these people?
Oh, we already...
Mole
I
people.
think we-
White, the Shih Tzu, the small dog, in his memoirs, he was of the opinion that the group had moved inland, then into the forest of
like
North
moles would do,
Yes.
buried inland.
into the
the
forests
burrows.
of North Carolina. Yeah, they've gone.
They've burrowed inland.
If I understand what inland means,
40 meters into the soil. They're into the forest of North Carolina, but that's his opinion. But there's no archaeological evidence to back that up, so I don't know about that. The English set up their first successful settlement in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1607, 20 years later, and that's the first. That's sort of
Jamestown, I guess after King James, you'd think.
Yep.
But in
Well, I mean, it definitely makes sense. But I can't definitely say.
the guy who said that his theory was they moved inland and lived happily ever after. He was one of the guys who would be trying to probably offset his guilt.
He's the one who
but
left
he
them there.
repeatedly abandoned them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, no, they lived a great life inland.
Fine. They're fine.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, they're rich and
Sea views. It's
Oh,
lovely.
They're nothing but sea views.
Oh, the cafe culture.
Real good.
Real-
Avocado.
Oh, the lattes.
So the Jamestown people, this is the famous settlement. They were wondering what happened to their, possible friends and relatives at Roanoke. So the new Jamestown settlers questioned local natives if they knew anything about the Roanoke colony. Some of these Native Americans told tales of white settlement further down the coast with two-story thatched roof houses, which is a style unique only to English people. Other Native Americans told of nearby tribes who could read English and dress similarly to Europeans. One of the Jamestown settlers alleged that they once saw a boy dressed as an American Indian, but he was fair-skinned and blonde. So this could mean two things, two theories here. One is that the Roanoke colony assimilated, possibly just to survive, with the tribes that they'd been friendly with, which makes sense. They're struggling to survive.
Yeah.
These people know how to catch food, that kind of thing.
Let's work together.
Yeah, and some of them were friendly. The other theory is that one or more of the hostile tribes that attacked the colony and presumably killed all the men, and possibly what they would do in that situation is sell the women and children into slavery. So that could have happened. And then they may have assimilated from there.
That's less nice.
It is less of the... Yeah, the Shih Tzu's going, I like option A.
Yeah.
Can we put that in the paper?
They're all friends.
Any chance? Yeah, we just go, let's all get together.
Everyone's very happy. Getting a good
Double
dickin'.
story. Double story Dickens.
Double story Dickens. That's a big Dickens. If the groups had come together over the course of generations, the settlers and the Native Americans, intermarriage between the Native Americans and English settlers could have produced a third distinct group. This group, some people claim, and even the people themselves, may be the Lumbee tribe, which is a tribe of Native Americans native to North Carolina, where their origin is not known. So even some of the modern-day Lumbee people say that their ancestry is part of the Roanoke colony. And I have read that people are attempting to do DNA testing to see if they have European blood, but no word on that yet. So that's a possibility. And there's no... And if that is the truth, it would be hard to tell whether, if they were captured or if they'd assimilated or if some people were friendly and other people went to this other island. But anyway.
You can't figure out whether or not it was friendly or not via DNA.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's difficult to...
Gee, science has got a long way to go, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah, disappointing.
I'm so disappointed
That
in
is
science.
disappointing.
Come on, science.
Come on, science.
You dickhead.
Yeah. Maybe science needs
Look
a
at
good
us.
dicking.
Look at us being a team again.
We're on. Yeah. It took a common enemy, science.
Science is a big... Science is a big dog. It needs 2 people to take it down.
This is nice. I'm
Yeah, it
glad
is nice.
science, although it's the worst,
Yeah, obviously.
the benefit of it being that it's brought us
Brought us together.
together, which is nice.
Yeah, fuck science.
Fuck
huh?
science.
Yeah. Together.
No, what are we going to fuck science together?
You're going to give science a big dickin'.
Together.
Together.
Friendship.
Another possible explanation for the colonists' disappearance is that they were attacked by the Spanish, who had settlements south of them in Florida. One Roanoke settler named Darby Gland.
Gland.
I thought you
Gland.
were going to go with Darby. That's a great first
Oh, I love
name.
Darby.
Darby.
But Gland.
Gland with an E. Glandy.
Don't like that.
I really thought Jess was going to take to Darby, but she
I like
hasn't.
Darby.
Yeah.
But
But
Gland.
Gland.
Look,
His
can we-
family.
Can we
no,
rename him
good.
Darby Darby?
Darby Gland. That's not bad. I'm coming around to it.
Gland.
Just call him Darby. Anyway.
Gland is not a good
Gland
name.
is not good.
No good.
So this guy, Darby Gland, he left the 1587 expedition, which is the second one, once it's on the way there in Puerto Rico to get so they stopped in Puerto Rico to get some supplies, and he got off. There's Spanish people there. He later reported that he told the Spanish officials that they were going to Roanoke, so the Spanish people knew that they were there.
Oh.
So possibly that may explain why everything was taken down, not destroyed. So the Spanish went there, overpowered them, killed all the people, and then just took down their houses because obviously once the English arrive, they see no houses. They go, oh, let's not bother setting up here again.
And they can also just take all their stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
use
get-
it again.
Loot it, raid it, that kind of stuff, which everyone's into
Yeah,
during this
the
golden age of
pirate
piracy. One of the things that makes it very difficult to, and this is a bit sciencey,
The worst.
it's difficult to say
Get your
what
dickhead,
happened.
Jess.
It's out.
It's been out for hours. It's difficult to say what happened at Roanoke because there is no modern archaeological evidence to examine. This is probably because over 400 years, the island's shoreline has eroded up to 1/4 of a mile, meaning that where the camp once stood is probably underwater now.
That's a shit excuse, science. Figure it out.
Fuck you,
Get
science.
a submarine, you dickheads. Figure it out. Science.
Science isn't about questioning things. It's about blindly giving answers.
Fucking hell. Science.
This is the final piece of the story I'll tell you. The most famous piece of possible archaeological evidence of what happened to the colony are referred to as the Dare Stones.
From the Dare Gallery.
Which is a furniture shop in Melbourne.
Like a...
Like, do you mean like ornamental stones, like decorative
Oh,
stones?
yeah. Oh, yes, I do.
These would make a great conversation piece on the dining room table.
Oh, you don't sit on it. You look at it. Shout out to all the fans of Dare Gallery. They advertise here. They're trying to be like rich and European and wanky.
Yeah, pretty low budget ads.
Oh, awful ads.
Awful ads.
I should have gone for Dare iced coffee.
Which is one of the Saints' major
Oh,
sponsors.
fucking hell. Anyway, tell us about
The Dare Stones. In 1937,
They had dares on them.
I dare you to start a colony and not die. Challenge accepted.
Double
The
dare.
other side had truths. You had to flip the stone if you got the
That's a
truth.
fun game.
It's a fun
I
game.
wish I'd said truth. 1937, a Californian tourist named Louis Hammond.
Great name.
I knew you'd love that
That
one.
is a good name.
Gland. No, Louis Hammond turned up at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, saying that he found these stones on a newly opened stretch of Highway 17 near Edenton, North Carolina, whilst hunting for hickory nuts. Probably a little too much story.
Was he a vulture?
He's looking for hickory nuts. He finds.
No, he's hunting for them. You don't hunt for nuts
He's got a bu-
unless you're a vulture.
Yeah.
They fucking hunt for
They
nuts.
hunt the nuts.
He's got a shotgun. He's shooting at nuts. I got it.
Just go picking.
I've
Go
never
pick some
heard
nuts.
of hickory nuts. Is it possible that they're like some sort of a mammal?
They're really violent.
Hickory nuts.
Hickory.
Anyway, he found a stone and he went all the way to Atlanta, Georgia, which is south of this area. On the stone that he found was a message, supposedly inscribed by Eleanor White Dare, who was the daughter of John White and the mother of Virginia Dare, the first child of English descent to be born there.
Mm-hmm.
It stated on one side that Eleanor's husband and daughter were dead and asked the finder to communicate this with their father. On the other side, it explained that all but 7 of the colonists had been killed by American Indians, and then it was signed EWD. Eleanor White Dare. The stone was examined by Dr. Hayward Jefferson Pierce Jr.
Fuck yes.
That's such a long name. Who was a professor of American history, and he thought it was authentic.
Disagree.
Pierce also
Mole
knew...
people.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mole people forged it.
to throw us off the scent. The moly scent. Pierce also knew he needed some more evidence to confirm the authenticity of the stone. And on the original stone, it alluded to a second stone that was part of a series.
It said PTO.
PTO. Where's the...
Or it just says 1-2.
Yeah.
Like 1 of 2.
One of two stones. I think that... Fuck, this is great. Dave, is this actually a mystery, or do you have the answer on this second stone?
Well, he wants to see the second. He wants to see the second stone, right? So he offered a $500 reward if anyone could find the second stone.
And then $500.
$500.
Is this
No.
a long
This
time
is
ago?
1930s.
I'm not interrupting my hickory nut hunting.
It's probably it's the equivalent of like $5,000 or something.
I'm still not interrupting
Jess
my...
doesn't get out of bed.
At a big guess. Sorry, not everyone drives a Ferrari
That
like
was the end
Jessica
of the
Ann
sentence.
Perkins.
Jess doesn't get out of bed.
I don't. I'm stuck. Help me.
We have wheeled you in on a single trundle bed.
It's comfy. I like it.
I don't know why we didn't mention it before, but Jess has broken every limb.
Oh, don't jinx me.
That's going to happen on the way home.
Oh,
But he's trying
Dave,
to knock
stop.
wood.
Stop.
You're not going to break every limb on the way home from this recording.
Dave, stop it. If I have a car accident, you're going to feel so bad.
Oh, well, I probably would anyway. Especially if I caused it. If I was ramming you. I'm ramming into the back of your car. Are your legs broken yet, Jess? I've had a beer. So he's offered $500. A sizable sum.
I've just got my hand on the wood panel on the wall now. I'm
That's
really...
smart. That's safe.
Enter
Oh, no.
Enter a local stone cutter named Bill Eberhardt, who claimed that he had found the second stone. But not just that. By 1940, Bill had found 40 more stones.
Okay, Bill.
Bill's
These-
got his stone writing pen out, I think, somewhere.
These stones were found 300 miles south of the other one in South Carolina. So somehow one stone's ended up here. 40 other stones have ended up 300
You know
miles
what
away.
stones
And
are like.
they've been discovered by a dude who has the ability to carve things into stone. I'm a little bit suspicious. But he's gone, $500 for one stone. I've got 40. I'm fucking rich.
Fuck, Bill. Too much, mate.
On these stones, it told a complicated tale of the fate...
Choose your own adventure story. Turn to stone 43 if you want to see this
then
child alive.
John Pierce, he handed in every stone except stone 43. So John Pierce is like, fuck, all right, I'll give you another $500 if you can find stone 43. The stones told the complicated tale of the fate of the Lost Colony. The stones were addressed to John White and called for a revenge against the, quote, savages, and told Eleanor's father the direction taken by the survivors. So it had all this crazy stuff, indicating that she'd remarried and that she'd married the king of a local tribe and all these sort of far out things. And a stone dated 1599 and announced Eleanor Dare's death and said that she'd left behind a daughter named Agnes.
Agnes. Ugh.
That's a beautiful name.
In 1941, which is the year after these were discovered, a journalist wrote of the stones being forgeries, and debate has raged on ever since. Now, I will say that nearly everyone agrees that the ones found by Bill, who ended up getting $2,000 for his troubles,
Wow.
It's only 4
to be
stones.
faked.
Though.
Everyone, he
Ripped off.
wanted 10 times. He wanted $20,000.
Did you see how fast I did that math?
That was real fast.
Thank you so
That
much.
was really good.
Thank you. I'm getting better.
Do you?
I have a tutor.
Oh, good.
I'm learning math.
Wow.
Nearly everyone agrees the ones found by Bill are absolute bullshit.
They're bullshit.
I mean, there's a couple of people have written books about it and stuff. Of course, they want you to believe it, so you buy the book.
They're
But
bullshit.
most people think they point to Bill and they say Bill shit. This guy is Bill shit. That's what happens. Bill shit. Oh, Bill shit over here found 40 stones. But the original stone, which I will say also looks a little bit different to the others, because this is what happened with Bill's stones. The original one looks...
Bills are just kidney stones too, by the way.
Bloody hell.
He wrote on some kidney stones.
They are,
Real weird.
they are microscopic. It's like when people write on a grain of rice. Guys, I found 40 grains of rice. Can I have $20,000? Now, what happened with Bill was the original stone looks really old and stuff. Bill's stones, apparently, when you pick them up, they started to crumble a little bit. And people are like, how have they lasted 400 years, but now I pick them up and they crumble? Bill.
Right.
What the fuck, Bill? But the original one, there is still serious debate amongst scholars whether that one is real. So the original stone. So maybe they did survive, maybe.
But why would you write it on stone? Like,
Well, because it lasts.
just send an email.
Yeah. I would have thought email would have made more sense.
A notebook. You're not restricted.
Yeah, put it up into the cloud.
Put it in the cloud.
If you want it to last forever, put
Put
it
it
in
on
the cloud.
Facebook.
Yeah.
That's timeless.
Yeah, they own it if you put it up there as well.
I
That's
bloody
what- yeah.
tell you what they're like.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she
Have
wanted
you
to,
ever read the fine print?
she wanted to retain the copyright on her stone.
Oh, that makes
Probably
sense.
what
She's a true
Though she has long since died, so the copyright is definitely gone.
She's a purist.
Mark Zuckerberg still owns it
That is the...
somehow.
But that is the story. I'm afraid that there is no conclusion to this.
Oh, Dave, have you not been listening to Jess? Listening to her or listening to her? She told you about half an hour ago.
I have been listening to her, but please... Yeah. What did she tell me half an hour ago?
It's the mole people.
Oh, pardon me.
Problem solved.
Sorry,
Let's go dig up the island now. I guarantee
you find
we'll
some
find
moles.
Yeah. Tunnels, moles.
a whole underground city. It's like Atlantis, but in land.
Atlantis. Yay!
We did it.
Do you either of you watch American Horror Story? The
No.
show?
No, I'm
the
a
horror.
wuss.
Oh, me too. I'm also too scared to watch
But
it.
is it actually, it's a horror story.
It's called American Horror Story, and every season.
I don't think, for some reason, I didn't think it was an actual horror. That's a horror story. That makes sense.
God, you're dumb.
Yes,
Well,
I
you
know.
just like-
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Well, you
You're
just-
a tutor.
Were you watching it as a family sitcom?
Yeah.
Where's the canned laughter?
I've been laughing me ass off. When all them people die, I assume. Very good stuff.
Well, if you don't know how the show works, I think every season is a different setting, and the
Same actors?
yes, or similar actors a lot of the time.
So then they just reset and play different characters.
Yeah, different time periods. And the sixth series was called American Horror Story Roanoke.
Oh.
And the best description I could find was, a couple moved to North Carolina, and during their stay at a house, the family has a terrifying experience because their house is on the land where the Roanoke colony moved after the famous disappearance. And there's sort of references to this story. So maybe...
I want to watch that.
But it's really scary.
Yeah, I'm not
My
watching it.
housemates used to watch it, and I'd have to go to my room.
Wouldn't that be scarier, being by yourself in your
No,
room?
I don't want to see it. No.
No, but I was watching My Little Pony, so it was fun. It was great. Anyway, thank you for everyone who suggested that topic. Hopefully, I covered all the right things there, because there's a lot of hearsay about what could have happened to them.
Matt, do you have any theories?
Yeah. It's the mole people.
Thank you.
We
yes.
we all agree.
Oh, sorry. That's not a theory. That's
Just a conclusion.
just a conclusion.
An accurate conclusion.
Sorry about all that pretense at the start, pretending it was a mystery. I know it's been solved several minutes ago.
We should tell people.
We definitely should.
Yeah,
Well, we
should
are.
find
We're
a way to
trying.
let them know.
We're trying.
Hello?
Is this thing on? How do I hit record? Imagine if we hadn't hit record. We've been here a while. But thanks so much for listening, everyone. Before you go, we would like to tell you about how you can support the show. One of the ways is to give us a sweet review on iTunes, or tell a friend, or how about this?
Both.
Tweet about the show, or Instagram or Facebook about the show. That gets the message out there, and we get more listeners every day. Well, not every now and then. Every week we get people saying, hey, just discover the show. So that's really, really nice. And I guess it's because people are sharing it. And the other way is to support the show via our Patreon page at patreon.com/do-go.
Sass.
I was like, I'll swallow before I make this announcement. I did not swallow. /do go on pod. And over there you can find sweet little extra things that you can get if you pledge to the show, including a bonus episode once a month. And we will also give you a live shout out at the end of an episode. And we would like to thank 2 people each now. Jess, I'm going to let you start this thing.
Thank you, Dave. That's an absolute honour. I would like to thank, all the way from Southport, a gentleman who has supported the show for a while now. I would like to thank James Henderson.
Oh,
From the
Hendo.
Henderson Kids,
Yeah,
which
from
was
the-
an 80s Australian TV show starring Kylie Minogue
Yeah, and James Henderson.
And where's
and
Hendo?
James Henderson.
Where's Hendo from?
Southport. in the
So this week,
UK.
we've started giving people a thing each week, right, that's somehow related
Yeah,
to
I
the
was thinking
episode.
that too.
Wonder what kind of mole person?
Would James be?
Yeah.
I reckon he'd be blind.
Okay, let's
I
go.
think most moles are.
Yeah, that's very
Okay.
sensitive to light.
Yeah, they...
Good senses of smell. But what about James Henderson in particular?
Like, what would his role be in
in a
mole
mole
people?
society. Yeah,
I think James works at the mole radio station.
yeah.
Oh,
Don't you reckon?
I reckon he
mole
does
in the
too.
morning.
Mole in the morning.
Good moling to you.
He's on the moling show.
Oh.
Yeah, he's quite popular. He's on mole billboards and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's doing really well.
which is what.
But he's
Sorry,
humble.
if people at home don't know what that is, in mole society, what you might call a billboard,
Mm-hmm.
they call mole billboards.
Of course, that makes sense. Oh,
Yeah. So basically, anything that we have here on Earth, above ground,
Above the ground, not inland.
not inland, they have, but they put a mole
Yeah.
ahead of it.
It is the kind of thing that's going to take a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah,
but
but
once you get your head around it,
it's-
it's pretty
It's an
straightforward.
advanced society.
Yeah.
I'd also like to thank another person as well, also from the UK, and that is Mole Nate Peterson.
wow, his name is Mole.
And
How fortunate.
no, it's been silly. Nate Peterson. I think Nate works at a laser clinic that removes moles
Oh, wow.
That makes sense.
from
Like,
moles.
oh, from moles, not he doesn't take people out. He
no,
doesn't
not
kill
like
mole
laser guns,
people.
like pew pew.
So he's
no,
not-
no,
He
no.
removes moles from society.
So he's not some sort of executioner / assassin.
No, it's more like moles that you go, that looks a little suspicious. Maybe a bit
Right.
of.
Wow. So
Have
that,
you noticed any
cancer.
sort of changing colour or
Yeah,
shape?
yeah.
That-
He removes the mole.
that super exciting job just became really, really menial. Pretty
But
gross.
he still goes about it like an assassin would.
Right, yeah.
But people don't know. He comes by when they're like bathing at the beach and he shoots
Just
the moles off their back.
Oh, wow, uninvited.
I also know this about Nate because I talked to him a bit on Twitter. He also does mole food reviews on YouTube.
Right.
So you should check out his
What
mole.
do moles eat?
Yeah, everything. That's
Yeah.
the funny thing. They'll eat mole spaghetti,
Mole spaghetti.
mole
Wow.
spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what is the one you say?
Biscotti?
Biscotti. How do I fuck that up? Nate Peterson, what a guy. Like his work.
Thank you, Nate.
Can I thank some people?
Please.
How do I always land with the hardest names to pronounce?
Yeah, it's almost like Dave and I do that on purpose.
This week I may have definitely done that.
All right. Well, that makes sense then. I'd love to thank Ignacio Segovia. No, that's all right.
Ignacio.
Segovia. Ignacio Segovia
There we
from
go.
Buenos Aires.
Oh, Ignacio. Thank you so much.
Capital of Argentina, is that right, Dave?
That is correct.
And he's also the president of Mole Argentina.
Wow.
Yeah, he is.
Wow.
And he listens.
Yeah, he does.
Good
yeah.
heavens, aren't we blessed?
We are. We are blessed.
What just happened?
I was going to say hashtag blessed and I felt so bad about
Yeah.
it that
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll get out of this with some sweet, heavy breathing.
I was glitching on it.
Guys, I don't think anyone noticed. I saved the day. Hello, Ignacio. Hello, Ignacio.
Buenos Aires. I don't know. Is there a nicer sounding city in the world than Buenos Aires? I'm not saying it quite right, probably. How would you say it?
Adelaide.
Adelaide. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it quite differently to that. Dave, how would you say it?
Hola.
Heavy breathing.
Vives en Buenos Aires.
Okay, great. I would also like to thank Erich Eisenmenger. That can't be right. It's possibly Eric
Eric.
Eric Eisenmenger.
When do I tell Matt that I actually create fake credit cards and sign up to the Patreon with fake names?
Eric, I reckon it's Eric Eisenmenger. And he's from Alberta, Canada, which is, I've never been to Canada, but Canada, like, Alberta's got some of the places that I most want to go, after Gary, Indiana, obviously. And if you ever see those photos of Canada, it's just like the icy blue lakes with the ice-capped mountains
Yeah.
behind and a moose.
Yeah. There's always a moose.
A moose in the
How do
in
they
the
get the
corner.
moose right in the perfect position?
I wanna be there. I really want to be there with Eric or Erich, who in the Mole Society,
Yes.
he's actually a tabletop dancer.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, sorry. A mole tabletop
a mole
dancer.
tabletop dancer. Yeah, a mole tabletop mole dancer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
very, thank
yeah,
you.
which is hard because it's so packed in with dirt under there
Yeah.
that the table, like the legs are in dirt, the tabletop's in dirt, so he has to sort of like dig out enough space to dance. But he does.
He
That's all
does
part
it.
of his job. That's
Yeah.
why he gets paid so well.
That's passion.
It's passion.
You gotta love your work.
I would like to thank from Bunbury.
Bunbury in WA.
I believe so.
That's a place that has a song written about it by Frenzal Rom. Sorry, Mole Frenzal Mole Rom.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Fraser Laurie.
Fraser.
Fraser Laurie.
What does Fraser do?
He's a librarian.
A mole librarian.
Mole librarian.
Come on, mate.
Who specialises in dirt.
Yeah, moles can't see. So what do their libraries keep? Oh, dirt. You already said
Dirt.
that. Yeah, great.
He
A dirt
he
library.
categorises different types of dirt.
Braille, Matt.
Fraser Laurie, thank you so much for your support.
Fucking yes, of course.
Our mole librarian.
Audiobooks.
Yeah.
There are other ways.
Yeah. Well, look, we've all now said something dumb on this podcast
Can't
today.
remember me saying something dumb.
Oh no, that was me 3 times.
I'd also like to thank all the way from Georgia, which is the state below South Carolina, which is
Not
the
that
state
we like to rank things,
which is
but
the state below North Carolina. Top 3 states there: North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. I would like to thank Sean Harris. Oh, actually, that's Cantersville in Georgia is where I thought his name was Sean Harris Cantersville, but I've written down Sean Harris from Cantersville in Georgia, and Sean Harris plays for the Mole soccer team. Really? He is the Mole keeper.
There's a high five for that one. That's very good.
Been sitting on that for about 35 seconds.
I thought my removing moles one was quite funny.
That was good.
Yeah.
it was
God, we
very
have fun,
good.
don't we?
We do.
We do
a lot
have
of
fun, and we have fun because of people like Sean Harris from Cantersville, Georgia. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for supporting the show. And thanks to you two.
Was that 2 from you, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fraser Laurie from Bunbury, our mole librarian.
And Sean.
Librarian.
Yeah.
Sean our molly.
Moly.
Mole.
That was so funny at the time.
Yeah, now you're like, ugh.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I didn't tell you guys about Nate, after doing his day job and then reviewing food at night, when he doesn't, in between jobs, he goes on the mole.
Oh, the regret. The instant regret.
I know we've all
You
done
guys,
it.
Which
you guys
in-
have both done a pun. I thought I should.
But which
I
in
should hate
mole
myself
society,
too.
in mole society, that's actually like The Bachelor.
Very highly regarded. Yes, that's right.
The mole.
The mole. He's on the mole.
He's the mole.
Yep.
Anyway,
Which is. Yep, okay.
we gotta go.
We got to go. Thanks so much for listening. In summary, please come to our show in Sydney on November 29th with serious issues. Going to be a bloody blast.
We're hoping Pluckaduck's there, but we cannot guarantee
We
it.
can't guarantee.
But we will be there. That we know.
And thanks so much. We've had a few people message us recently after Dave asked people to pass the word on around the podcast, and it was so cool. People have said that they've just heard about it because of a friend, and that is so nice.
That's lovely.
Yes, it really, really makes us feel good. And it helps the show to grow and become molier than thou.
Oh my god.
Like the Metallica song.
Yeah, molier than thou. But yeah, so spread the word. Have a great week, and we'll be back next time with another show. Until then, I will say goodbye.
Sorry about the mole stuff.
Bye.
Laters.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.